Hey guys, GhazzyTV here with another YouTube video. We're going to be making a very small update to one of my build guides I've had for years, which have been updated every league and will continue to be updated, and that is the pure SPECTRE summoner build, which these days are using the Redemption Sentries. It's a build I was playing last league where the cluster jewels were much cheaper and the guide itself is including cluster jewels. However, with this league, and we'll see how it's going to be in the future with some changes to do with the cluster jewels, I do believe that cluster jewels will be, for the most part, rather expensive, even though they did nerf something like Vicious Bite, which is very popular to be used. So with that said, I wanted to show you guys that the build can work very, very, very well without the cluster jewels. I've currently started to put more currency into the build at the time of this recording, which is why there's a Ball of Faith, which I will be unequipping. For the sake of the video, I do have a shield, which is better for generic bosses, but you have other shields that would actually give you more damage at this point, and I'll explain these things as I play the game. So my shield currently has 2 minimum frenzy and power charges, which is done through the Awakener orb. However, a Victorious Charity, which costs like a chaos or 2, would actually be more damage in general for the build, especially in this current state, because that gives you 3 frenzy charges, and without actually scaling critical strike multiplier, frenzy charges is vastly better than the power charges. They barely do anything more than giving you a lot of crit chance. But as long as you're not scaling crit multi, your crit chance doesn't really matter. And the cluster jewels is your stacking for this. This build, the tree will be linked in the POB link in the descriptions below. The tree is basically designed to take away all the cluster jewels and then just take more minion nodes as well as some life nodes for the low budget version. This cluster jewel here has 1 renewal and 1 feasting fiends. I could skip all of this and just get myself a ghastly jewel with minion leech. The only reason I have this is because I took the feasting fiends to give them some leech. So that said, you don't need Vicious Bite, Precise Commander, Vengeful Commander, all of those nodes. You can skip them and still do Awakener 8 smoothly, clear tier 16 map smoothly. As mentioned, I'll unequip the Ball of Faith, and we have a +1 Spectre chest piece. Now I'm using a Ball Regalia, which is very expensive, because I'm going to go CI with this later. However, for a low budget state, you'll have something that would actually benefit this version of the build much better by having a lot more HP from another chest. You can craft a big boy helmet for Summoner for Spectres, which will give you more damage than a 6-link chest piece, and a link to that video is also in the descriptions below. Other than that, I have a trash weapon with +1 level spell skills, trigger weapons. Helmet is just life rest with enchant. The gloves, I would argue for, could be somewhat expensive, 1.5x. Not needed, don't need them whatsoever. And I am going to clear this map using GMP and Pierce without the Ball of Faith, and that's piss easy to do. So a few notes about the build in general is that you get 5 Spectres, for those of you who don't know, through the use of 3 Spectres baseline by having a level 25 Spectre skill gem. You can get that from Bones of Ore and having a 21 Spectre gem, and you can have it from, ooh, I'm bleeding. Okay. 21 Spectre Gem with +1 from your I keep forgetting what it's called, from your weapon, and then having another one from another Spectre from the skill tree. So I have +2 levels of gems from Unnatural Strength Ascendancy nodes. So that's how you see you get to level 25 Spectre Gem, allowing you to have 4 Spectres, and then the 5th one from the chest, and that mod can only drop from Delve. Notice the sound is a little bit too loud, so I'm gonna lower that a little bit. Other notes in that, it's very straightforward. A lot of people have been asking me why I use Avatar Fire, which is in the build guide. However, the reason I do it, I just want to have that said, is because I'm using Frost Bomb, and we don't want to use cold damage on our Elemental Equilibrium, and Frost Bomb deals cold damage, so I'm using Avatar Fire to avoid that. And the reason I'm using Frost Bomb is because that has a modifier that allows me to apply cold exposure, which even with Avatar Fire would still apply, which means that I'm still applying -25% cold exposure resistances on top of Elemental Equilibrium being on fire, making them have -50% of cold resistance. So it's very straightforward. I'm not going to bother casting because it's boring for this video. Just going to keep moving. So as you can see, I'm using Pierce. You can use Fork or Chain if you prefer, together with GMP for clearing, which I will then switch the gems out. Oh, that was some ground effects. Nice. Of course, we get the Baron on this. Other than that, the build itself is very chill. Right now, with the current gameplay that you're seeing in the build is, as mentioned, I have gear that is designed to be crafted for the sake of going energy shield with it, so I have vastly lower HP than I should have, making this build very squishy in the current state. However, if you do this in a low budget version, get yourself proper gear with actual life mods on them. Have some crafted life from some pieces. My chest piece have 60 HP. On a proper chest piece you can get over 100 plus increased max HP. So there's a lot of different things you can do, which is all in the build guide linked in the descriptions below as well. Other than that, it's just very simple to play, and it has really good clear speed, and the boss damage is perfectly fine even without the Ball of Faith or the high budget items. And like I mentioned before, I would actually do more damage with a Victorious Charity shield than the current shield I'm wearing right now, because I'm not scaling the crit multi. And 3 frenzy charges is vastly superior over having 2 frenzy charges and 2 power charges when I'm not scaling the crit multi. For the most part, you're critting and shattering most enemies, which is pretty chill. Victorious Charity still gives you that for the sake of feat spell clearing. This is like the best video we've done. Even beats the Awakener video we did earlier. Of course, it's the poison and hit. I actually don't have that one sorted. Okay, that explains it. The poison and hit is actually killing me. When it comes to map mods, that would be a good way to actually bring that up when we're doing this recording. When it comes to poison hit, that's why I usually play with Shakari, which I haven't changed, because I was doing lab runs. That is a strong recommendation to get the Shakari Pantheon upgraded, so you don't have to worry about poison, which is the current concern in this map. The other ascendancy is actually going solo Lunaris and upgrading that to avoid projectiles of chain, because if you do maps with enemies that are chaining projectiles, with minions out, there's a huge risk that you get shotgunned with a lot of projectiles from enemies, and that can instantly kill you even if you're sitting on 10,000 plus EHP and full damage mitigation and all of that. Another thing when it comes to mitigation is that if you want to lower your DPS and skip Flesh Offering, for example, which I generally wouldn't recommend, at least not for softcore, you're still able to go with Bone Offering and Glancing Blows, allowing you to go pretty heavy for the sake of going full max block. Which is very easy to achieve with the roomies, and a Bone Offering with Glancing Blows, just that is more than enough to hit the block cap for the most part with a tree. So that's one way of playing it, and that's about it when it comes to the defensive. You see this poison? Oh shit, dude. Yeah, it's definitely the poison screwing me over. So this is the boss damage with this build with Pierce and GMP, which is obviously terrible. However, you want to change that for elemental damage to attacks and vicious projectiles. If you don't have white sockets, which is very easy to get in this league, then you don't use Pierce. You switch to GMP for vicious projectile, and you have your damage sorted that way. But as mentioned, just to recap what we're doing, this build is very squishy. Well, this character is very squishy, but the build itself is not. So the tree we've thrown together here is supposed to look like this for that cluster jewel, and we connect here, and we drop these points. And we connect through here to skip these 3 points here. And this is basically the tree. You get your cluster jewel here if you even want to, but by connecting this way you have the availability to upgrade to that approach as well. And I would strongly recommend going for CI approach if you want to, which is the higher budget version, which will later obviously want to promote yourself to go for the cluster jewels and whatnot. But this is the lower budget approach. We're using no cluster jewels whatsoever, with a cheap version, killing Awakener 8, having a perfect approach of clearing, except poison and hit. You want to take care of that. And also, when it comes to reflect mods, elemental reflect is something you should definitely avoid. However, physical reflect can be done, but your specters will not benefit from the full damage of full life support gem. So you have one less support gem during a map like that, as long as you have leech for your minions, which is why I actually opted to get one of these. Later, obviously, you want to get something like this type of helmet, but that's a mirror service helmet, so we don't need to talk about it for this video. Either way, that's all I wanted to say. Just a small little update for this build. I'll smack this up on the forum as well, so you have this in the forum thread. And happy hunting and harvesting your crops in Harvest League. So until next time, boys, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe for more content, and yeah, stay safe and keep rocking.